This is the next story. So, bundle up. Get your milk and cookies. Because it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be magic and wizards. And, well, you'll see what's going to happen as it happens. That's how stories go. Well, you remember last time I told you about that wizard. His name was Mel. Mel had some animals, and this is probably a little bit about that and some other things. And you probably remember that genie that was in a jar who gave a Snuffer, an old school, a wish. And it was a very nice wish that he gave them. Well, I also told you that that genie can be a little bit tricky. And that's how the story starts. Because good old Mr. Genie, well, they let him out of that jar. And Mel helped them get a wish from him. So, this is what happened. Late one stormy night. It was dark in the forest, and hardly anything was moving. And Mel was sitting in front of the fire with his buddies, Knick-Knack, the lizard, Kit-Kat, his cat, Tic-Tac, which was his owl, and Patty Black, his little puppy. Well, they were all curled up together, and Mel was reading his magic book about spells and things. And then all of a sudden, there was a knock at the door. I wonder who that is, said Mel. It's much, much too late for visitors. Well, let's go see. So off he went to the door, followed by Patty, his little puppy. And he opened the door, and you know who was there? It was the genie from the jar. And Mel said, hi, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm travel long time, and I come to see you, Mel, and I can talk to you about summoning. Really, said Mel. You talk kind of funny. Well, I've been gone a long time, you see. I was in that jar by myself for thousands and thousands of years. And I was not too happy about that. So Mel said, come on in. Pull up a stump by the fire. Would you like a cup of tea? Or maybe some cocoa, hot chocolate? Oh, no. I don't drink no hot chocolate. I will have some wine. Do you have wine? Sorry, said Mel. I don't drink wine. Would you like some water? Okay, I drink the water. And they sat by the fire. And Mr. Genie had something to tell Mel. He said to him, I have an extra wish that you can have, but it comes with a price. You have to pay. Mel thought, I don't really need any wishes, and I don't want to pay no price, but let's see what he's got to say. Well, I'll tell you, you can have this magic wish, but then I can take one of your animals with me. That's the price. Well, no way, said Mel. You're not taking one of my pets. I love them all dearly, and I'm not going to give any of them away, even for a wish. Well, you could wish for many more pets if you like it. That could be your wish, many more pets. I don't think so, said Mel. I think I'm just happy the way I am. Oh, that genie was not happy. That genie was not happy. And he is a tricky, tricky guy. I told you about that before. So guess what he did? You know what he did? He told Mel, well, you have to take away this wish. You have to take this wish, because if you don't take the wish, then it goes away and nobody can have it. Well, I don't want it, said Mel. And I'm not giving you one of my little pets, that's for sure. Oh, this is a very, very bad, very bad, very bad, 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 bad. I'm a going now, but I tell you, it's not a good for you, not a good for you. And so off he went. Mel thought, that's kind of a crazy genie, that guy. I don't even know what he's coming around here for, harassing me. I don't need no wishes or nothing. I'm happy, and nobody's taking any of my pets away. So the next day, it was a sunny, beautiful day. The birds were singing, the sun was shining, and Mel decided, I think I'll go for a walk. So he asked, Knick-Knack and Tick-Tack and Kit-Kat, they want to go, and Tic-Tac, he didn't want to go because he's an owl and he likes to go out at night. He likes to sleep during the day. But Knick-Knack and Kit-Kat, they wanted to go, and Patty always wants to go, no matter what. He follows him everywhere. So off they went into the forest, and they walked and they walked, and they saw lots of beautiful things. And then they came around a corner, and he looked, and he noticed that Kit-Kat was not there. What happened? He called and he called, Kit-Kat, Kit-Kat. She wasn't there. That's very strange, thought Mel. I just don't know what happened. So they started back for the cabin. And they walked and they talked and they called out for Kitty. But she was nowhere to be seen. And by the time Mel got back to his cabin, he knew some mischief was afoot. He suspected that genie. He figured there was some trouble that he brought him. So Mel decided he was going to whip up a magical potion. He was going to use some of his special magic to find out what happened. So he made his magic potion, and it started to boil and bubble and smoke, and it was kind of stinky and made funny sounds, and, well, that's how magic works sometimes. And so then he took it outside, and he poured it on the ground. And then come out of the ground grew a magical flower. And that flower grew up, and Mel thought, oh, this is special. But he didn't know what kind of special. But he just knew something was happening. So then he was sitting there watching, and a bee came buzzing up and landed on the flower. And when it was on the flower, it went round and round in circles. It made a little buzzing noise. Mel thought, this is interesting, but I don't know how. And then the bee started to fly around in circles around the flower. And then the lizard, Knick-Knack, he came right up to it, and he looked at it. And then the bee started to fly away, and Knick-Knack waddled along behind him. He kind of waddled like a crow, even though he was a lizard. And off he went, and Mel thought, what is this? So Mel followed, and off they went into the forest. And then, you never know what happened next. They came to a special place, and it was like, well, it was special. And when they were there, Mel realized that he was going to find something there. And he looked, and he seen underneath a stump covered with leaves, there was the genie's jar. And he grabbed it. He looked, of course it was empty because the genie had long left that jar. But he thought, maybe this is something I can use. So Mel took it and he put it in his pouch, and he also gathered up some berries and some herbs and leaves and stuff, and because he was there anyway, so he thought he might as well do those things. And he grabbed them, and off they went. And when he got back to the cabin, he took the jar and he put it on the table, and he took the lid off, and he put inside some berries and the leaves he gathered. And he waited, and he thought, aha. Sure enough, a few nights later, late in the night under a full moon, it was beautiful and bright outside, and the stars were shining. And when Mel was sitting by the fire, reading his magic book, he heard a rattle on the table. And he jumped up. And he looked, and sure enough, inside the jar was the genie eating the berries. So he quickly snapped the lid on top. Aha, he says, I've got you now, genie. And the genie was not very happy. He said, what do you do to me? What do you do to me? Let me out of the jar. Let me out of the jar. No way, said Mel. I know there's some mischief afoot here. I know something happened to my cat, and it had to do with you. Well, I don't want to take it a cat, but I told you I gotta have a pet. So I took the cat only so I could be friendly, have a friend, and somebody to pet. Well, that's too bad, said Mel, because I want my cat back. Okay, said the genie, I'll bring the cat back. You let me out of the jar. I don't think so, said Mel. I don't think so. You're too tricky. You tell me where the cat is, and then I might think about letting you out of that jar. Okay, I tell you. Up on top of the mountain, there's a cave, a crystal cave up there. And that's where the kitty cat is. But she's very, very happy there. I feed her, I pet her. I don't think so. That's too bad, because that's my cat, and I'm taking her back. So off Mel went, and he brought the genie with him in the jar, put him in his knapsack with, he had a couple of sandwiches, and he had some juice to drink and stuff. And he also put Knick-Knack in the sack so he could carry him with him. And, of course, Patty always followed him everywhere, and off they went up the mountain. But it was a big mountain, and it took, a long, long time to climb that mountain. Guess how long it took? What do you think? 2 days? 10 days? 30 days? A long time. It took them a long time. But they had food, and they knew what they were doing, so they're pretty happy. So up they went, and up they went, up. And as they got higher, it started to get a little colder, a little windier. But that's okay. They had the good clothes, and they had some food. And Knick-Knack would stick his head out of the sack, and he'd look around, and then he'd go back inside, and he'd sleep in there, And Patty would just follow along. Away they went. Well, when they got about halfway up the mountain, all of a sudden, they noticed a very, very stinky smell. It was a very stinky smell. And they heard something. They heard it. Somewhere in the forest on the mountain, there was something stirring. There was something making noise, and it sure was stinky. They could smell, and they thought, oh, this is not good. And so they carefully climbed up as quietly as they could. And next thing you know what happened? I bet you can tell me what happened. Can you hear it? I can hear him a little bit. He's getting closer. Oh, it's getting stinkier. And then out from behind a tree came a big, nasty, ugly, stinky-looking ogre. What are you doing on my mountain? What are you doing on my mountain? Well, Mel said, I'm just up here to get my cat. He says, don't want no trouble. Yeah, I don't want nobody on my mountain. You better get off my mountain. You hear me? Get off my mountain. Well, Mel said, this is not your mountain. It's a mountain for everyone to share. I don't share with nobody. I'm a mean old ogre. He said, oh, he was a nasty guy. So Mel thought to himself, what can I do to get around this stinky, ugly-looking, warty old ogre? And he thought, and he said to him, I'll tell you what. I will do a magic trick, and if you can tell me how I did it, we'll stay off your mountain. But if you can't tell me, then we get to pass. I don't know about that. I don't know. Okay. I like magic. Show me the magic trick. All right, then. Pay attention very closely. Notice nothing up my sleeve. Nothing in my hat. But yet, abracadabra, hocus pocus, silly ocus, rammy dammy, whim whammy, slimmy slammy, kapow! Next thing you know, out of nowhere, Mel pulled a rabbit out of his hat. Wow! I don't know how you did that. You had it hidden in your sleeve. Nope, I showed you my sleeves. I didn't have anything anywhere. Well, you took it out of the tree. Too late. Nope, said Mel. Wrong again. I'll give you one more guess. Well, I think you got it out of a hole. You pulled it out of a hole in the ground. Nope, Mel said, I didn't. Well, how did you do that trick? I'm not going to tell you, because it's magic, and you must let us pass, stinky old ugly ogre with a wart on your nose. Off they went. The ogre sulked down by the tree, rubbing, scratching his head and pondering, and didn't know how they did it. But Mel is a nice guy, and Mel said, you know what? If you want, I will let you have this rabbit as a pet. And he's a nice guy, and he'll make you happy, and you can pet him. Well, okay, said the ogre. And amazing thing happened. When that little bunny cuddled up to the ogre started to smile, and he felt better. And he actually wasn't that bad a guy. He just didn't have any friends or pets or anything, and so he's kind of lonely and grumpy. And so after he had the little bunny as a pet, and he was a lot happier. Thanks a lot there, Mr. Wizard. I sure like that little bunny. Oh, thanks. Off they went. wandering up the mountain, steeper and steeper. And then they saw a big wall. It was a big stone wall that stood up high. How high do you think it was? 10 feet? 20 feet? Maybe 30 feet? It was high. It was a high wall. And they didn't know how they're going to get around that wall. How are we going to do it? There was no door. There was no window. There was nothing there. Well, this is another problem that, Mel's a pretty smart wizard. So he's going to come up with some kind of idea. And guess what he did? Do you know what he did? I bet you do know what he did, didn't you? Well, wizards have a magical spell book that has all kinds of things in it. And one of the things in it is how to fly. So Mel had never tried that before because he's a little bit afraid of heights. But he thought, well, you know what? I'm going to call on Tic-Tac, the owl. And I'll talk to him, and he'll help me learn this magical spell of how to fly. So that's what he did. Ooh, 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 he called the Tic-Tac. And he waited. Woo, woo. And then, it took a little while because, Tic-Tac likes to sleep during the day and stuff like that. So, he didn't come right away. But he heard him. And he knew that Mel needed some help. He was his friend anyway, so he always liked to hang around him. And so, next thing you know, flying into a tree close by the wall came Tic-Tac. Well, Mel, what is it, Mel? Who are you? Who are you? What do you need? Well, said Mel, I got this spell that I never really tried too much before, but it's a flying spell. And since you're an owl and you do know how to fly and everything, I was hoping you could help me. Well. You want to fly. That's pretty funny, Mel. But I'll help you. You're my friend. You feed me. I'll help you. Good, said Mel. Well, I've got all the magic words, and I have to find some feathers. So let's go looking, see if we can find some. And off they went. And they looked and they looked. They looked under logs. They looked under rocks. They looked under sticks. They looked under stones. No feathers to be found. Until finally, Tic-Tac said, "Oh, are you doing? What are you doing there? Mel, you'll never find a feather under a rock, you silly, silly man. You need to find a nest. And nests are in trees. Look up, look up." So Mel said, "Oh, thanks, Tic-Tac. That's a good idea." So that's what they did. They kept wandering through the forest, but now instead of looking on the ground, they were looking up in the trees and the branches. And sure enough, after a little while, they saw a nest. They saw a nest up in the trees. And it was way, way, way up in the tree. Right near the top, really high up, higher even than the wall. How high up do you think it was? 10 feet? 20 feet? 30? 100 feet maybe? It was high. Well, Mel can't climb, not that high. But, oh, Knick-Knack, that lizard, he had pointy little toes, and he was an expert climber. So Mel said, "Knick-Knack, my good buddy, could you go up that tree in that nest and see if there's any feathers in there? Maybe bring me down a few feathers that I'm going to need?" All right, Mel. Sure, I could do that for you." And off Knick-Knack went, scrambling up the tree, up the bark, just like a, well, just like a lizard climbing a tree. Up he went. And when he got to the top, he saw that in the nest there were some fine feathers, but there was also an egg. Well, now, Knick-Knack didn't know what to do because he really liked to eat scrambled eggs. And, he's couldn't decide. Like, do I take the egg or do I take the feathers? I'd like the egg. They're really tasty, but I came up here to find a feather for Mel. But I like that egg. Maybe I just take that egg. I sneak down that egg. I eat that egg real quick, and then I maybe even notice. Hey, Tic-Tac, do you see Knick-Knack up there? Tell him to hurry down. So Tic-Tac went flying over, had a look at the nest, and sure enough, there was Knick-Knack inside the nest. Who are you doing? What are you doing? Get the feathers, head down the tree. I don't know, I got it right in here. There's this egg, and I really like eggs. Oh, my, I like to eat eggs more than anything else in the whole world, and I like, can I keep the egg? No, bring the feathers. Ah, darn. So Knick-Knack grabbed a beak full of feathers. Well, he doesn't have a beak. He has a mouth, but sometimes in lizards they call it a beak because it's kind of pointy shaped like that. He's got no teeth or anything, so he's got no lips either, That's what lizards are like. So he filled his mouth with the feathers, and he headed down the tree. And when he got to the bottom, he gave the feathers to Mel. And Mel said, oh, thank you, because I really need those for this magical spell. So off they went back to the wall. And when they got to the wall, Mel started a little fire. And he put on it a cup of water. And then when the water started to boil and the steam started to rise, he put some green leaves in the fire, and the smoke started to come up, and the smoke mixed with the steam and was coming off like smoke and steam. And so then he took the feathers and he passed the feathers through the smoke and the steam, and he said the magical words. Do you know what the magical words are? They're a secret. Can't tell anybody. I bet you know what they are, though. You can just think right now what those magical words are, because we can't say them out loud, because they're too secret to be said. Otherwise, well, people would be like flying all over the place and then, be bumping into each other and stuff. And we couldn't have that now, could we? But that's what he did. And he used the magical words, and he passed the feathers through, and he thought, can I fly now? How do I know if I can fly? So he said to Tic-Tac, Tic-Tac, can I fly now? Tic-Tac said, well, I don't know. You better try, Mel. Well, how do I try? I don't want to jump off a cliff or anything. If it doesn't work, I could get smashed. Who knows? So Mel was very, very, he was very confused. So he took the feathers and he started flapping his arms up and down as hard as he could, and nothing was happening. He just wasn't flying. He didn't know what to try. So he sat down on a log, and he was a little bit sad that maybe the spell didn't work, and he wasn't quite sure. Well, then good old little Paddy came up to him and rubbed his nose on his leg and wagged his little tail, and he looked up at him with his little puppy dog eyes, and he said, you can do it, Mel. You can do it. You just gotta run. You just gotta run and you jump. You run and you jump, and then you will fly. Run and you jump, and then you will fly. Well, Mel said, thanks, Patty. I didn't know that. Let me try. So off Mel went, running along the wall, running and then a little jump and a little hop. And he got a little bit higher, and then he ran a little faster, and he jumped a little harder, and he went a little higher. And on the last jump, up he went, up and up and up, and he was flying. He couldn't believe it. He was flying, and there was Tic Tac beside him. "Oh, you did it, Mel. Woo!" He was so happy. Well, he had Knick Knack in his sack, but Patty was still on the ground, and he was barking at him, and he didn't want to leave Patty behind. He wasn't quite sure what he was going to do. So he said, Tic Tac, can you go and get Patty and carry him over the wall? Oh, me, oh, yeah. And down Tic Tac flew, and he grabbed Patty by the tail, and up they went. And next thing you know, they flew, all four of them, right over the wall. And then when they got there, they saw it was very, very, very nice. And it was all trees and birds singing and sun shining, and it was warm again. It was a nice summer breeze and beautiful trees full of fruit and animals, and they couldn't believe the difference, because the other side was all rocky and cold, and so off they went. They were so excited. And they climbed and they climbed and they climbed. And then, when they are getting closer to the top, you'll never guess who they met. They met somebody else, very special. Somebody who was going to help them find the cave. Guess who it was? I bet you know. I bet you can tell me who it was. Do you know who it was? It was a little baby elf. Yep. And that little baby elf was just sitting there on the leaf of a flower in the sunshine, smiling, singing, laughing. They couldn't believe it. At first, he was so small and so quiet, they almost missed him. But Patty smelt him. Patty heard him. Patty went over to him, gave him a little sniff. Mel said, "Whoa, what are you looking at there, Patty?" And he saw, "Oh, look at that little guy. Wow. Hi there, little elfie guy. How's it going?" And the little elf was so nice, but he was sleepy a little bit, and he looked at them through his sleepy eyes. He said, I'm okay. How are you?" "Well, we're okay," said Mel, but we're looking for my cat, Kit Kat, and he's up here in the genie's cave somewhere, and I left the genie back at my cabin in a jar, because he was pretty tricky, and he tried to trick me for my cat, but I wouldn't give him. Then he took him anyway, and it's a long story, but he's up here, and we're coming to get him and bring him home. "Oh, that's so nice. Let me show you where that cave is. I'll show you." And so the elf flew up into the air, almost like a butterfly. He was so small, but beautiful colors, and off he went, flying, zigzagging back and forth. Up he went, and Mel and his friends followed him, and sure enough, he came to a place where there was bushes and a tree, and it was hard to see through, but if you really looked carefully, if you really dug around those roots, and you went underneath the bush, sure enough, on the other side was the cave. And into the cave they went. Well, except for Tic Tac, because he likes to fly and he doesn't want to go down inside a cave because that's not a place where owls go. But off they went. And when they got in there, it was quite dark. But they called out for Kit Kat. Kit Kat, Kit Kat. And sure enough, down in the cave, they could hear meow, meow. They could hear. And so Tic Tac guarded the mouth of the cave. And Patty went running inside there, barking and yelping, and he was so happy to see his friend again. And he went down there and he found her, and they turned around and they came out, and sure enough, they found Mel, and they all climbed up onto Mel, and they were all hugging and laughing, and they started singing, and they were all pretty happy. So out they went, outside the cave. And sure enough, there was the little elf. He was waiting for them there, and he was happy to see that he found his cat. And so Mel said, well, let me reach into my knapsack here, and I bet you I have something special that I could give that elf for helping us out. And he did. He found something in there. Do you know what it was? It was something very special. It was something, well, like wizards always do. Magical. It was a little tiny golden ring. And he gave it to the elf and he says, here's for helping us. Thank you so much. This ring will always protect you. This ring will always keep you safe, no matter what. And that elf, he was pretty happy. He said, thank you. And he flew away just like a butterfly. And so Mel and his friends went down the mountain. And soon they came to the wall and they said, that's okay. A little bit of run, a little bit of hop, a jump and off we'll go. And that's what they did. And next thing you know, they were flying. Up and up and up they went. Up over the wall. And of course, Tic Tac was carrying Patty by the tail, but he didn't mind. And they went, and Mel thought, well, we might as well just keep flying. We could fly all the way down the mountain, right to the bottom, all the way home. So that's what they did. And all the little birds came around, and the birds flew with them. And they could hear them all. They could see them all. And there were some that were blue, and some were red. Some were tiny little green birds. And there was big purple birds that had like fur on them or something. They had feathers too, but their body was furry, and they had big long purple feathers with a little kind of a pointy thing on top of their heads. Have you ever seen one of those? I've never seen one, but in this forest there was some. And they all flew together around in circles and having fun. And down they went, down the forest, along the stream. They flew, and it was so much fun. And soon they got to the cabin. And they came into the cabin, and they noticed when they got there, the jar was gone. Somehow, something had happened when they were gone, and the genie in the jar was gone. Oh, thought Mel, this could be trouble. I hope that genie didn't get out of the jar, because he's a tricky guy, and I don't want any more trouble from him. But that's not what happened. He never had any more trouble from the genie because, well, somebody else found the genie. Somebody who was traveling through the forest. And they came to the wizard's cabin, and they were a little bit lost, but they weren't afraid or anything. And they went and knocked on the door. Is anybody home? Is anybody home? Nobody answered. So they were very tired from being in the forest for so long, and they weren't smart like Mel. They didn't bring sandwiches and juice and water and stuff with them, so they were hungry and they were thirsty and a little bit lost. And so they decided, well, maybe I could just go inside and that'd be okay. And that's what they did. And when they got inside, they made a sandwich and had something to eat, and then they had some water to drink, and they were sitting there, and then all of a sudden they heard this funny little voice. Let me out of the jar, let me out of the jar. I'll give you a wish, I'll give you a wish. And they couldn't believe it. They looked and, oh my, look at that. There's a tiny little funny looking man dressed in funny clothes inside that jar. I wonder what I should do. I wonder. But they were a smart traveler, and they had been around a long time, and they were a little bit worried. They thought, I don't know. He must be in this jar for a reason, and it's not my jar, and it's not my cabin, and I just better be careful about that. So, they decided they won't open the jar, but they will, maybe poke a few holes in the lid of the jar so he could get some fresh air, and maybe take him out in the sunshine, because the poor guy seemed like, he was, very unhappy stuck in that jar. So they did. They took him outside. They poked a little hole in the top of the jar and gave him some fresh air. And the genie was there, and he couldn't get out. But he tried some more trickiness, and it didn't work. And the traveler said, well, probably you're better off out here outside, and it doesn't look like it's going to rain or anything, and I think you'd probably like it here better. So he went back inside, and he wrote a note and thanked the owner for the sandwich. He left a little bit of money behind, and off he went. Well, when Mel and the friends got back home, they didn't know that's what had happened. But all they knew was that the genie wasn't on the table anymore. And so they looked around a little bit around the house, and they couldn't find him. Sure enough, Patty, who was very curious and very smart as well, and he has a very good nose, he started sniffing and sniffing, and the next thing you know, he was scratching at the door to get out. And so Mel let him out, and Mel said, "What is it, Patty? What is it? What's the matter there, buddy?" And Patty went out the door, and he ran straight up to where the genie was, sitting on a stump in the sunshine, and he barked, "Row, row, row." And Mel came over and said, "Oh, there you are. Okay, well, I was a little worried there for a second that maybe you got out of your jar and you were going to cause some more mischief." "I don't know no more mischief. I promise. Please let me out of the jar." "Well, I don't know. You can be a pretty tricky guy. You let me out of the jar, I'll give you a wish, any wish. I don't take none of your bets. I promise. "Well, do you swear? Do you promise on your word, no matter what, that's what you'll do?" Yes. I promise that's what I'm going to do. I'll do it. Well, okay. I think you'll be safe. You'll be safe to let out of the jar, I think. And and I'll take my wish. Well, that's what he did. He let him out of the jar. And the genie kept his promise. The genie said, "Any wish, master, any wish you wish shall be my command. What is your wish?" And Mel, the smart wizard that he is, because he's been around a long time, that Mel, and he doesn't really need anything. He has everything he wants. So he wasn't going to ask for like money or a fast car or anything. He had a very smart wish. Now, if it was you and you could have any wish that you wanted from that genie, what would you wish for? Would you wish for a little baby brother? Or maybe a new bicycle? Or you could wish for maybe a pet fish, or a puppy, or a little kitty, or maybe an owl, like Tic Tac. Or some people would like a lizard, like Knick Knack. Or you could wish for maybe, I don't know, something. Most older people, they want money and things like that, or a fast car. But I bet you don't. What would you wish for? You think about it for a minute. I'm just going to let you think. And you make that wish. And don't tell anybody, because wishes don't come true if you tell. You make that secret wish. We'll all make one together, and we'll see they will come true. And then, after you've made your wish, I'm going to tell you what Mel wished for. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm going to count to 3. And on 3, start thinking about it now. Start getting ready, because it's coming, and I'm going to count to 3. And when I count to 3, after I'm finished, we're all going to think of our wish. Are you ready? Did you think of something? Because you got to think really hard. 1, 2, 3. There it is. Now, of course, wishes don't come true right away. Sometimes they take a while. And, the bigger the wish, the longer it takes. But that's the way magic and wishes and things like that work. But they do work. They will work as long as you believe. Can you guess what Mel wished for? I bet you can. Do you think it's the same as your wish? I don't know if it is. Because Mel had that genie to deal with. That tricky guy that he knew. You better be careful with him. You got your wish not from a genie. You got your wish from a dream. Which is even better, because they're not tricky at all. It's only you. So Mel, smart guy that he was, he said to the genie, "My wish, Mr. Genie, is that you never, ever, no matter what, no matter when, no matter who, no matter how, you never trick anyone again." Wow, that was a good wish. That was a smart guy, that Mel. And the genie had to do it. He promised them. And then the genie never again could be tricky. The genie always then had to keep his promise and be a nice guy. And that's how this story ended. But just like all stories, it's the beginning of the next story, which I'll tell you next time. Bye-bye. Hope your wish comes true real soon.